Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our daily word today. Today is Thursday, the 9th. That you could join me for a few minutes together as we continue our daily word journey and continue to consider what the word might mean for us as we live our lives. And so we try to do our best in the midst of living these lives of ours. Hope you'll join us Sunday morning for worship at 10:15. We're going to light the candle of joy, which is the pink candle. It's also Gaudete Sunday. The pink candle is the shepherd's candle. And so we'll light that, and we're going to talk about joy and what that might mean for us as we live our lives and how it then affects us in our journey through Advent. I talked a bit yesterday about that Advent, is really more than about the destination, but I believe it really is about the journey, from the beginning of Advent, and that when we arrive in Bethlehem on Christmas Eve, when we arrive there, that we will have experienced the full journey of what it means to go through the season of Advent and to hear the stories. And so this Sunday we're going to hear from John the Baptist again. And now John the Baptist has gone to preaching and challenging the lives of people just like us to live differently. Last night at our Advent Wednesday night, we talked a lot about Elizabeth and Zechariah and how that they were old and barren and how their lives were changed when the angel appeared to Zechariah in the temple when he was in the Holy of Holies to give him this news that he was going to be a father, and what they had to endure to carry out this monumental task. Elizabeth was 88 years old when she conceived John the Baptist. And so it's interesting to think about what all of that means for us and how our ancestors in the faith, much like Elizabeth and Zechariah, affect our lives. And we also talked about last night the interesting thing that Elizabeth was barren all of her life until then, and that God continues to work in us, and it's never too late for God to continue to work in us. And that's a pretty amazing thing to know that God continues to work in us despite our age. And so one of the persons around the table is 48 and has had some, like we all do, have some life difficulties. And I said to that person, you are 40 years younger than Elizabeth was. Imagine what God's going to do in your life. The youngest person around the table was 7 last night, and we talked about her and how God can work in her life. And the very youngest person around the table is still in her mom's belly. She's going to be born in a couple of weeks, probably. Well, not probably. She's going to be born in a couple of weeks. And we talked about what God's already done in her little life and the difference that all of that makes. And so it's an exciting thing to think about in this season of Advent, how it is that God moves in us and shapes our lives. We're not too old. We're not too old to do something different. We're not too old for God to move in our lives. We're not too old for God to shape us in new kinds of ways. The scripture for this morning that I've chosen is an interesting, powerful one called Habakkuk, or Habakkuk. Either way, he's a prophet. And we hear these words from the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 5. I will stand at my watchpost. I will keep watch to see what God will say to me, and what God will answer concerning my complaint. Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so that a runner may read it. For there is still a vision for the appointed time. It speaks of the end and does not lie. If it seems to tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. So we hear these interesting words, and I think they fit for us with our Advent journey. Even though Advent only lasts 4 Sundays, it comes to us, in the middle of winter, if you will, And we've been lucky, but the weather hasn't been bad, but it could be. And Advent comes in the middle of all this stressful time of family and presents and baking and parties and all the things that demand our attention. And then in the midst of that, you have me asking you to come to church every Sunday without fail. You have me asking you to come to Wednesday night and to join in that conversation. There's so much happening in the midst of this life's journey. In the middle of it, of course, is the pandemic we're living in and all that goes with that. And so here we are. And we hear these words of Habakkuk, who's waiting, has made a complaint to God, who's waiting and wondering, will God even hear my complaint? I'm just going to stand here. I'm going to stand at my watch post and I'm just going to wait. And will God ever hear my complaint? I know enough of all of our life stories that some of us feel that way. I do too. You know, yesterday was an extremely rough physical day for me. By the time I got home from last night, which was really good, I thought we had a great time last night. By the time I finally got home, I was done. My legs were done. My pain level was clear at the top of the scale. I didn't sleep at all. I was awake until 3 a.m. Having a hard time this morning. I decided to stay home today and just try to be off my feet. We make these complaints. Will God ever hear me? I know your life situations. Will God ever hear me? Will God ever help resolve this? And then God answers with these interesting words for the prophet and for us. God says, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so the runner may read it. For there is still a vision for the appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it does not lie. If it seems to tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. We are ready to embark on the year 2022. And I'm working on that. I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking what the vision for 2022 is, what my leadership's going to look like, how I'm going to address all these issues, things that are on the burner that I need to work on and address the most. 2020 was difficult. 2021 has been difficult. And we probably wonder, where is it that this is all going to shake out? Here's the plan, and here's what God says to us. No matter the signs, we shouldn't risk forgetting the vision once the pain is past. I mean, you know, we go back to the start of this and the beginning of this pandemic way back in March of 2020 and how we cared for each other and loved each other and said we were going to do certain things and we were going to slow down and take life differently. Look, I haven't done a very good job at that. You know, life's demanding. We can go all the way back to 9/11. You know, I remember standing in church on 9/11. A couple days after, we had a big worship service. And I remember talking that night about, you know, people randomly helping the other people and the huge supply of water bottles and neighbors reaching out to neighbors and how quickly we forgot what that called us to, the vision to live differently. Well, now here we are. We can't really afford, nor should we try to afford, reverting to the status quo. Instead, the prophet wants us to wait and see how God will write the vision on our hearts, how God makes the vision plain, how God calls us to keep our message strong, and that we shouldn't let up until this race is run. And that's what struck me about this text for us, and for me personally, as I think about it. You know, God says there's still a vision for this appointed time. We can't forget what we've been through and what it is that God's calling us to. If the vision tarries, we just wait for it and know that God is going to carry it out in our lives. So this morning, early when I was awake because I couldn't sleep, I got to thinking about 2022 and what it is that God's calling me to, what the vision for my ministry is, my life is, God's call on me is. I was reminded in this text that, the vision is still there for the appointed time. I have to see it and respond to it and know that it will surely come for all of us. And I think that's true for us. We can't forget where we've been in this pandemic stuff, but we certainly can't be down in the dumps and in the blues and know that God's not going to work for us, because God is going to work out the best for us. Even in the most difficult of situations that some of us who are watching this morning are going through, God is going to work it out. I just know it. It's just true. It's just the scripture's full of it, where God continues to work out God's plan in our lives. You see, here's the deal. One leader will not save us, and one will not bury us. It's up to us, you see, to stay on message, to stay on point, to stay in the streets, to cry out and gather together for the world that we long to have and God's vision for us. And I believe that to be true. And that gives me energy to think about a new year that's coming rather quickly. So I pray that we all might continue to stand at our watch post and hear God say, write the vision, make it plain. Make it so plain that a person running by can see it. I think that's a powerful statement. Make it so plain that a runner may read it and know that God will give us what we need in the right time and in the right space. Talking about Zechariah and Elizabeth last night, and the fact that Elizabeth was 88 gives us all hope that God continues to move in our lives. No matter our circumstances, no matter how difficult, no matter our age, God continues to work. And I hope that you'll know that and feel that and be assured of that today as this daily word comes to us today. So, that's our word for today. I hope it's helpful to all of you as it is to me. Know of God's love that surrounds you. Know my love for all of you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I pray for you as you pray for me and as we live our lives together. Have a great day.